I wanted to make the world's first wooden Mac Mini, upgrade it, and also make an entire new office in a week to surprise my wife on her birthday with a brand new office. In order to do that though, I'd run the risk of ruining it altogether.
Oops. Oops.
What I didn't know was that this project would learn me a new valuable skill to actually finish my projects. I am looking for an old Mac Mini of mine. I'm gonna use it for a birthday gift for my wife. It should be somewhere here. We moved houses and right now this house is just being used for storage for all the crap that we don't use or need in our lives. But sometimes I do go down here to look for stuff and I end up looking for how long and I see stuff and I think I'm gonna remember where that was, but I never do. Like you would think you would have some kind of organization, but apparently we can't. I found He-Man though. Oh, here it is. Look at this old, worn down Mac Mini from 2012. It's sad. It's still a good computer though. It's been in a drawer for a couple of years now, not being used, but I think I have the perfect use case for it. I do think I want to upgrade it with some more RAMs, because everyone wants more RAMs, right? And a bigger disk. But I do have something else in mind that I think would make it look perfect. This piece of walnut, it's like gold to YouTube woodworkers. And I can't argue, I recently made this stool and the grain and color of the walnut kinda gave me goosebumps. I have 2 pieces of walnut and that's all I have, and I'm on a tight schedule with this video as my wife's birthday is coming up. And the thinking right now is to take the components of the Mac Mini and instead of using the aluminium chassis that is scraped up and old looking, make a new chassis with the walnut. To get a sense of what I needed to do, I naturally opened up the computer and started taking the components out one by one. Carefully, of course.
Oops. Oh, there it goes. It's coming. I hope it's not broken. But that came out. Great. Let's take a look at this.
And to be able to draw up a new chassis, I had to get some measurements, and the inside of the old chassis seemed like a good place to start. That way I could draw up a new chassis in CAD to house the components. Alright, so I want to keep the shape of the Mac Mini, but I need to make it bigger because I can't have the walls as thin as the aluminium. So what I'm doing is I'm actually making a bigger version of the Mac Mini, and rumors are currently that Apple are going to release a new shape of the Mac Mini this year, which is going to be smaller. So I'm kind of going in the opposite direction. Mac big, like McDonald's in reverse. So I've got the main shape down, but there are some issues that needs resolving. Drawing up stuff like this can be a bit hard, but there are tools to help. One of my favorites are these radius gauges that you can just download and 3D print. And they're awesome for measuring the radius instead of doing like the calculations, because I don't even know how I would do that. Also, you see the old chassis, the panel back here, the back panel, it's curved. Like that. Ideally, I would just reuse this, but since I'm making the box bigger, the radius won't be the same as this one, so I guess I need to make a new back panel. That will be the tough part. Right, so this is my CAD drawing. It looks really good like this. Now this Mac Mini will lack one thing, and that's the Apple. Because this won't be an Apple product and I don't want to be sued. So instead I'll just put my logo on top of it, and I think I can cut that part out with black acrylic and I bet it will look dope. But first things first, I need to make sure that the case fits the components. So to do that, I'm gonna 3D print the entire thing. And while that's printing, I want to show you the room I have in mind for the office. We have this house that's been worn down for years. No one's been taking care of it, so between doing YouTube videos, I'm renovating together with my wife. Lately, we've been doing the 2 bedrooms on the 2nd floor. That way we can have guests stay over, or that's what we've talked about. But I wanted to make this an office for my wife so that she can go do her work somewhere nice. And to put some furniture in here, I've just assembled this. And this is the FlexiSpot Odin 4-leg standing desk E7Q. A standing desk from FlexiSpot. And they're also the sponsor of the video, and I'm really curious to try this out because apparently this can lift up to 300 kilos. I could do this all day. Up, down. What are you doing? Just lying on the table. There's nothing wrong. In the ceiling. Lying on the table in the ceiling. As you can probably see, there's still some things left to do in this room before it's finished, but I bet I can do it in time. I chose this table in particular because my wife loves standing when working, but sometimes she sits down like when she is sewing. And by the way, sewing is perfect for this. Look at how little it vibrates when going full speed on the sewing machine. According to FlexiSpot themselves, this one is characterized by its stability, user-friendliness, and its high adaptability in supporting desk accessories like monitor mounts. With such features, the E7Q will definitely let you get your money's worth. And for when she's sitting down, FlexiSpot were also kind enough to send me this premium ergonomic office chair. And I might steal this for myself because I'm really tall and that usually equals to back pain. When editing videos, for instance, I'm usually sitting down for long periods of time, and this chair has all the features you need to make that a comfortable experience. Why did I decide to give this to my wife? Oh yeah, it's because of the wallpaper. Anyways, let's get back to the computer. Okay, so this is what I've got so far. This is the 3D printed version. I've kept the Mac Mini look, but naturally made it bigger because it's going to be made out of wood. But that gives us the problem I talked about previously. The back panel won't have the same radius, which meant I needed to make a new back panel, and now I have no way of attaching it, and I need to figure that out before I actually carve the thing. So I need to rethink that, but other than that, I think it looks kind of good. After some more time with the CAD model, I came up with a solution. It's not the prettiest, but this is the back of the computer and I really need to be able to take it apart. And after that, I was on to work with wood. And to make it, I have this machine from Saint Smart. What if you could cut out basically anything you want out of wood? Then this is the thing you need. This is a brand new upgrade of their already affordable 4040 Pro. This one is called 4040 Pro Max. And that is because this one has had some major upgrades, including this trim router as a spindle. And I think this kind of turns this into the perfect CNC for the small workshop. I don't do review videos and haven't used it enough to speak my mind on it, but my first impressions are that this is the perfect hobby CNC. It doesn't take much to get started, and the build quality of this thing is a major upgrade to what I started with back in the day, a 3018 Pro. This is of course more expensive, but looking at what you get for the money, you can do a lot with this. I had it assembled in an hour, even without the manual, so it's really straightforward and it works with my favorite software to use, Easel. Now, to make this work, I would need to get rid of a lot of material, so I tried using the built-in 3D carve in Easel from an STL file, but that didn't really work. It might have been user error as well, but I'm not sure. So then I went back to the CAD drawing and created the G-code from the CAD software, and that would probably work better. I just had to relearn it because I'd forgotten how it worked. After everything was set up, I was ready to do the first cut, but this is me panicking. Yeah, that failed miserably. I spent half a day trying to figure out my problem and then I tried it again. For the second try though, it worked better. The machine was carving the thing, but the problem was that I had to carve this piece both sides. This is actually an old project idea of mine that never happened 2 years ago when I first thought about it, because back then I couldn't figure out how I would do it. And it's kind of cool to think about the progress of actually being able to do something now that I couldn't 2 years ago, because I've learned more things to take me there. But there's another component to it as well. I don't see limitations as easily as I did back then. Now I just do it and trust that I can figure out the solutions along the way. I think I have it. Oh, I couldn't use the dust attachment in the last 10 minutes or so, so I had to hand vacuum, but I think I got it. So when the first carve was done and looking good, I made a 3D printed jig that would locate the center for me. Then I went on to carve the second side starting from the center. And before I knew it, I had a piece that looked like the bottom of a Mac Mini. I think it worked! Oh, this has been a stressful day. Yeah, it looks good. For the top part, I just repeated the same steps as previously, except for one major thing. I was going to carve my logo on the top part, because I can't put the Apple logo here because of copyright. But before I could carve the logo and realize my big mistake, I did the inside of the top part, and when that was done, I flipped the wood and carved the logo. I also had that same logo cut on the laser in acrylic. Then I glued up the Mac Mini with the use of another 3D print that helped me align small 4mm dowels that I could use for the glue up. The question still remained in my head throughout this entire thing. Would it even start? It was when gluing the thing I realized my big mistake. Ah, for crying out loud. I put the logo the wrong way around. It's too late to go back now. It'll just have to be... it'll have to be the wrong way around. The face should obviously have been the other way around. But not long after, I came up with the idea of cutting out a circle instead. Then I had that same diameter circle cut on my laser in black acrylic with my logo engraved. That last part was my friend Steve's idea. This project was all ups and downs, learning new things to get the project done, and by the end of all of it, I'd gone through a lot of 3D printing, making all sorts of jigs to figure out where stuff would go, and all of that led on to this feeling of not just having the same excitement for the project as before. And it's not something new to me either. I normally start out a project with great excitement, but close to being finished, I've already come up with new things I want to try and other projects I want to work on, and therefore I end up just wanting to finish the current project so that I can get started on the next one. I'm not sure if this is something familiar to you, but if it is, let me know down in the comments. And this project had me solve a bunch of problems that I've never faced before. One of them was attaching this power button to my 3D printed back panel. On the original, it was plastic welded in place, and I did try that with some filament, but that didn't turn out good. There are probably better ways of doing it. So then I printed a version where I could attach the power button with machine screws instead. And I did go through a couple of iterations before I had a working solution. Reattaching the lid was another issue. The lid was held in place with 3 machine screws that act as a lock for the lid. The solution I ended up with were these 3D printed parts with heated insert nuts into them, and then I could attach the entire antenna with press fit. That way I have the Wi-Fi antenna and the screws for the lid in the correct position. A 3D printed jig helped me align that as well. Suffice to say, there were a lot of issues that needed solving. I also upgraded the Mac Mini with new fresh 16GB of RAM and an SSD drive that will greatly increase the speed of the computer. As I was made aware of my own lacklust towards the end of the project, I came up with a solution. I thought about why that happened. I guess one part of it is that as I get closer to the end, I see that there won't be any more problem solving to finish it. It's just plain work, and that doesn't excite me as much as tackling a new problem. But as I was made aware of it, I came up with a solution to this. And the simple solution to it was just to tell myself that at the end of the exciting project, there will be a boring part that just needs to be done. And by just realizing that fact, I can expect it on every project. I know that I will face that issue, and therefore I can just tell myself, this is the boring part, you just need to do it to be able to do the fun stuff later. With all the components installed, I was ready to try it out. During evenings that week, I did the last piece of work that was needed to finish the room. Then I could place the new monitor on the desk, and finally the computer. It was time to turn it on for the first time. Okay, everything's connected. I honestly haven't started it yet. I just wanted this to be an honest moment, because if it doesn't start, I'm basically screwed. So what we want to hear is the Apple chime. You ready? Ooh! Oh, we got the logo. It's asking for the password. I'm gonna type it in. I can already see Wi-Fi is working, and because my keyboard and mouse is working, means the Bluetooth is working. It actually seems like nothing's been damaged by my clumsy hands. So for anyone concerned with the heat of the computer, since it's enclosed in wood, it's currently at 49 degrees on the GPU, which is great. But I won't have this computer turned on when I'm not here, so it doesn't matter anyways. If I were to do this again though, I would probably spend more time on the back panel. It works for now, but it would be nice to have that curve as well. The grain of the walnut looks amazing though, and I'm very pleased with how it ended up. And now it's time to go get the wife. If you would like a really high-end standing desk, check out the E7Q or the E7 Plus on FlexiSpot.com. Check the link in the description for an exclusive promo code, and thanks to FlexiSpot for sponsoring today's video. Hang on, stop right there, and she loved it, and yeah, she wouldn't let me have the chair.